I think we can get started. Rukmani, we cannot hear you. You're on mute.
Yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for signing up for our webinar. I'm excited to have all of you here today as we explore how outsourcing and AI are transforming the CAM reconciliation landscape. I am Rukmani Anantraman from RE Backoffice. I have over 18 years of digital marketing experience, including AI based marketing, and I'm happy to be your webinar host today. Before we kick things off, just a quick note. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to drop them in the chat box that's located at the right-hand corner of your screen. We'll address all of your queries at the end of the webinar, so don't hesitate to engage with us as we move along. So let's get started. This webinar is brought to you by RE Backoffice. RE Backoffice, also known as Rebo, is a global boutique firm that specializes in real estate marketing and lease services. Our lease services group, that is rebolease.com, provides lease administration, lease abstraction, CAM reconciliation, and recovery audits to clients across diverse industries, covering every type of lease on any lease administration platform. Now, please allow me to introduce you to our speakers today. We have Harbinder Khera. He's the co-founder of RE Backoffice. Harbinder has 25 plus years of AI technology and commercial real estate experience. The other speaker today is Megan Redmond. Megan is the executive director of sales at RE Backoffice. Megan's got global lease administration experience for more than a decade, providing financial, operational, project, and strategic support in commercial real estate. Our third panelist here is Mansha Rajpal. She's the VP of Quality and Operational Excellence at RE Backoffice. Mansha has extensive lease management experience spanning across almost 2 decades. So, Megan, over to you now.
Thank you so much, Rukmani, for that wonderful welcome. For those of you who may not be as familiar with CAM, we are going to start off with a very high-level overview and definition of common area maintenance, or CAM, and reconciliations. Simply put, CAM is a set of shared expenses to maintain common areas of a property. This may include things such as parking lots, lobbies, landscaping, elevators, to keep them in good and working conditions. CAM charges are critical to a property because they affect the overall cost and quality of a shared space. For tenants, the importance of a CAM reconciliation is to ensure that they are only paying their fair share of the cost. It is important and the landlord's responsibility to charge the tenant what is allowed and recuperate costs that they have incurred. As you can imagine, CAM impacts the budget for both the tenants and the landlord when performing reconciliations. The lease provides a guide in the reconciliation process by answering critical questions, hopefully, such as who is responsible, what are they responsible to pay, how much are they responsible to pay, and when. There is a substantial financial, time, and resource allocation directed towards these reconciliations for both of the parties involved. Mansha, would you be able to go through and tell us what this process might look like?
Sure. Thank you, Megan. Thank you for giving us a CAM overview. So I'll just go through the typical CAM reconciliation process. So, like we know, we have two ways, where we do the CAM reconciliation. First is we do it from the tenant side, and the other is we do it from the landlord side. So just going through the process on the tenant side. So first is the input. So input of information is important. What information we have received from the landlords. So we can first start with lease agreements. So that comes in either the information is extracted in their systems, or we need to go through the entire set of documents of, a beat, CAM, paragraphs, reading the lease language and other things, and understanding whether, the lease is net lease or a gross lease. So all these important parameters, we can get from the lease agreement documents. Then on the input side, we have the CAM expense reports. So that is the reports that are provided by the landlords, wherein they provide us the exact calculations. So we need to see whether we have complete set of documents provided by them. Is there anything missing from the documents that is coming as CAM set? Then we have the invoices and receipts. So these can be a big chunk of documents as invoices and receipts. It can be either on the maintenance side, landscape side, snow removal side. So having the entire set of invoices and receipts becomes a very important input parameter for calculating the correct CAM reconciliations. Then comes the previous CAM statements. So here it is when we know that two types of cap calculations. It can be cumulative or a non-cumulative. And when we have a non-cumulative calculations, that's fine. We just believe on the previous year's statements. But when there is a cumulative cap calculations, we need all the previous year's calculations to arrive at a proper, verification whether the cap calculation is correct or not. So we need to see whether we have all proper sets of previous CAM statements as well. When is the tenant's share of calculations? So how well the landlords do the calculations and in what templates and in what worksheets they're providing the documents. That becomes an important, in the entire input set of the documents that's coming from the landlord to tenant. Moving to the process of the CAM reconciliation. So once we have the entire data set complete to verify all the data that has been provided is a complete set in order to perform the reconciliation process completely. Expense verification here, again, it's very important whether the list of expenses that are included in the lease agreements do verify that what is used in the calculation of CAM reconciliations. Then how the exact reconciliation calculations are done, whether the pro rata shares are calculated properly or no, that everything is described in the reconciliation calculations. Then we also prepare the reconciliation statements at our end and review the calculations provided by the landlord to see whether the calculations are correct or not. Once the review is done, if there's any discrepancy, that the landlords communicate that to the landlords, providing them the entire summary and the description of the discrepancy so that they can understand what is the thing that we're contesting on. Then are the final adjustments. So if the landlord is contesting and agreeing with what we have reviewed and contested, they come to a final adjustment and accordingly these things are reconciled into the input and are the inputs are accordingly finalized. Yeah. Then comes the output. So how is the exact output of the CAM reconciliation statement? Whether it's a PDF document or it's an Excel document. So what kind of statements are sent to the landlords in order to review those documents? Then is any adjustments required for any invoice or any credit memos or raised if we have any credit towards the payments that is adjusted in the output side. According to that, we also provide the supporting documents. Whether how have you arrived to those calculations? Do you have any supporting information in order to provide them the review? And accordingly, the results are then finalized. Moving to the landlord side of reconciliation process, here again, I think the set of input documents remain the same because it's either the landlord side or the tenant side. They both have to go through the same set of documents. Moving ahead to the process at the landlord side. So here again, the landlords have to completely see how the data is calculated. Then
Hey, Megan, if you don't mind, I think we're having some tech issues on Mancha's end. So, do you mind just jumping in and taking care of the next two slides, please?
Sure.
Hey, thank you. Hey, sorry, Mansha.
yeah, no worries, Rukmani.
Oh, go ahead, Mancha, if you're able to continue. Just double checking.
Okay. So should I continue with that?
Yes, sure, go ahead. And then we can go over to the
Okay.
next slide.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think the same is the process on the landlord side. So in the exact summary of this process would be we someday need 4 to 5 hours to do one reconciliation process. if it's a very simple set of documents. But again, if we have a complex set of documents, because sometimes the properties do have multiple landlords, we have different parcels involved in the calculations, and we have a long list of expenses that are need to be reconciled. So each reconciliation can go up to 20 hours for, completing the reconciliation process. So it can either be, in the range of say from the 4 hours to 20 hours to complete one location on the reconciliation side. And again, when we compare the set of documents required for each location, so we may have just, maybe 10 to 20 or 60 documents per location, or sometimes, based on our experience, the number of documents have gone up to 500 per location as well. So, reviewing those 500 documents or invoices for just one reconciliation becomes a very tedious process here. So this is where, the entire CAM reconciliation process is done and the time taken for each location and the challenges where we have huge number of documents involved on each location. Rukmani, can you move to next slide, please? Yeah. So I'll just go through a recent case study that we have completed on the CAM reconciliation. So we had a retail chain client which had a presence in about 18 countries. So we had a wide range of locations for CAM reconciliation coming in. So here, the challenges we faced were the resource constraints because there's a tight audit window. So if a landlord is completing the reconciliation, say in the month of Jan after closing in the month of December. So generally the users say that there's a window of 60 days, 90 days, or maybe 120 days to complete the reconciliation and review the documents. So if a tenant has somewhere around 1,000 to 1,200 locations, so reviewing all these 1,000 to 1,200 locations in a tight audit window becomes a real challenge when it comes on the tenant side. So here, like we come in as an expertise where we can work on these large lease volumes and we can work on any list discrepancies because we have a team of expertise of around 50 to 60 people completely and working and focused on the scam reconciliation. So for our approach for such large volume clients is generally first we work on the pilot phase. So that is where we show them on a small number of batches of reconciliation that what kind of calculations and what kind of reviews we can do on their portfolio completely. So once we completed this pilot phase and we did the comprehensive audits of the lease documents and reconciliation statements, we were around somewhere we could find 50% of the locations wherein we provided them and found the discrepancies and these turned out to be savings when the discrepancies were agreed from the landlord side. So as and again, I think a very good thing that we do is we're very proactive in following up with the landlords because if we are finding any discrepancies, we have a very systematic and a descriptive way of showing the queries, picking the information from the leads where we have found such discrepancies, and we provide those information to landlords. So as we provide a very comprehensive and a brief information on our contest, so there's a high probability that contests are approved from the landlord side and those turn to the savings on our client's end, on the tenant side. Again, if the landlords, because there's a possibility that landlords may overlook all these discrepancies coming their way together, because again, generally there's a season that comes for the CAM reconciliation. So maybe different clients are working on the reviews of all their documents. So even if that is overlooked from their end, we have the regular updates. We either call them or we give them the frequent follow-ups until the issues are resolved. So after having these pilot phase completed, we could generate somewhere around 62K dollars savings for the project. So once we reach those numbers and we turn 50% of the location with savings, we could get the entire project on this reconciliation. So that's how we just explained the recent case study that we had a project for the portfolio and the CAM reconciliation. So this is clear and understood. Then moving ahead, so Megan will be showing us more opportunities on the CAM reconciliation, on the processes and where we can generate savings and smoothen the entire process from the client's end. So Megan, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mancha. So I apologize for the sound issues to everyone. We will be providing the slides for everyone, and a transcript. So hopefully that will help with some of those various issues that you guys were experiencing. But thank you so much, Mancha, for sending over to me. As Mancha went through on the first slide and on the second, I think we all understand that CAM reconciliations are a tedious process, but they also provide a massive opportunity for companies and their savings. Unfortunately, things such as time and accuracy create challenges in this process due to things like tight audit and delivery of the reconciliations. Below, you'll see a graph. It's from a 2023 Ernst & Young CEO Global Outlook report. And CEOs provided their input to where they were looking to spend their attention in the next 12 months. As you can see on the top of the chart, 47% are looking to invest in technology, such as AI, to improve their growth. Harvinder, as co-founder and an expert in technology and all things AI, would you be able to shed a little bit of light on this area?
Sounds good. Thank you, Megan. I'm really excited to be on this webinar. As Megan and Rukmani mentioned, spent almost 32 years in AI world. So I'll probably I'll spend some time how AI is actually transforming CAM process, optimizing it, not only just the CAM, but just in real estate, how AI is actually transforming everything. So I'll spend some time there. So as Mancha pointed out, as you guys know, CAM process is pretty tedious. There's a lot of documents, a lot of information that needs to be processed. And there is some time constraints as well. Okay. So how do you do this using technology? Yes, people have been doing this manually for years, but technology has brought this paradigm shift that how we can do this better, faster, and more accurately. So that is something that I'll be spending my time. So if you have any questions about AI or any of the session, please go ahead and put in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer all your AI related questions. So now, from an AI perspective, let's kind of dig deeper into different elements of AI. So I'll spend a couple of minutes into this slide and then get into the use cases. So all of you guys watch Netflix. Some of you guys have seen the use of technology there, recommended movies, stuff that you see in Netflix. That is a traditional machine learning. Okay. Now, machine learning, and as you know, AI has got many different categories. So machine learning, the stuff that has been, in practice, I would say for last many years, I would say 7-10 years. People using, recommended courses, recommended learning, recommended movies, where it's learning, it's a more mathematical based modeling. It's a linear algebra. So if more people watch a certain movie, let's show that movie because it knows your profile, persona. It shows you more of those movies to you. That is machine learning. Now, typically in programming, you write code. We do coding, and everything is in code. The logic is in code. Imagine the logic is in the data. That's what the machine learning and AI is all about. The logic is in the data. That means the logic is changing with data. Okay. So that's using that technique. That is really how we're seeing the transformation going on in our space. So then last year, a year ago, with the Chat GPT and OpenAI came, and that's something everybody's talking about, generative AI. Now that is part of the deep learning. Now, this technology existed when I first took an AI class almost 33, 34 years ago, exact same topic. Now it has become mainstream. Why? Because of the computing, because of the faster processing, the things have become easier and at a cheaper price, not faster, but also at a reasonable price points. That has transformed, that has brought in the deep learning to the masses. And so we're going to talk about today how mostly ML and some elements of deep learning is transforming the real estate business and CAM and more on the CAM side in particular. Okay. So when you think about AI, typically we go, and everybody's, I'm sure, has used ChatGPT. You go online and you type, in the ChatGPT prompt section, something as some common language. Tell me about this and tell me about that. It's a very unstructured. Now, what happens is, so when you run this unstructured command, and the AI will give you unstructured data. The key is, how do you harness that unstructured data into a format that you can make it more meaningful for your business decision making? And that's really where the wraparounds, the technologies come in place around it, how you take the unstructured data and make it more structured. So let's kind of dig deeper now and see how AI is transforming the CAM. Okay, so the couple of on this slide you're going to see the many different use cases. I'm going to start from the basics. Now, as Mansha pointed out in the previous slide, a lot of documents, a lot of invoices. For a location, you may have up to 60 to 500, maybe more. All depending upon how many, you get a utility bill, you get a, for snow plowing bill, invoice, you got a lot of stuff coming your way. Now, that is part of the location. Now you have many locations, and then you have lease documents. So how do you manage these documents and scale? A lot of times when you look at the lease documents for a location, they're not named properly. There's not a proper naming convention in place. A lot of times there's depending upon how they've been scanned, how the invoices, they say ABCL PDF and whatever, image.pdf. So how do you take all the data and basically rename them automatically, organize them? And this is all could be done very effectively using AI technology that reads the document and understands the content and organizes everything. So the important part is this is the OCR technology combined with the AI technology allows you to rename and organize documents at scale. Now, so the other elements to the CAM process, recon process, the first step is the abstraction of the data. What is in the lease? If the information in the lease that something is you need to really abstract and summarize what's in the clauses and some of that information that you can then take that data, then compare with what's in the invoices. And that is part of the lease abstraction process. And that's really where the OpenAI or the LLM and ML has played a significant role in abstracting that data. Now, the other use cases, and I'll be digging deeper into some of the stuff, is reading invoicing data. When you look at the invoice data, summarizing what's in the invoice data, organizing invoice data, and then you can do some comparison, what is in the lease and what is coming invoices, and having that, comparison and doing it at scale. Okay. Now, a lot of times, as even the lease abstraction process, you could have missing documents, missing amendments, and missing invoices. So how do you manage that at scale and where the exceptions could be found using the AI technology? We taking this whole tedious process and automating it. And that is really where, as Rebo, and we have as a company, services company, have spent significant amount of time for the last so many years, that how we can make this stuff more effective, faster, accurate, and then pass the savings to our customers. So that has really been our focus. And that is something I'll be kind of going into some of the details that how at Rebo we're deploying these different technologies at scale to help our customers to do this kind of processing and find that golden nuggets. And when it comes down to Camp Recon, either you're a lessee or a lessor, as Megan pointed out, there are use cases for both sides. So a couple of things. So let's start with, as an example, you have all these documents. So how you can read the documents at scale, and you can basically find missing documents. You have amendments and lease agreements. So looking at the lease agreement, you can say it's the master lease. You know, it's an amendment. It's a side letter. If it's an invoice. So imagine you have thousands of stores. You have a couple of hundred stores at thousands of locations. You have so many documents. And finding the missing documents and organizing them is the key. Because a missing invoice or a missing amendment can impact your A, lease abstraction, B, your CAM recon. And then generating exceptions that, okay, for this location, this is missing, go ahead and find this document. Or you can add a notification layer on top of this. If you find an exception, document is missing, sends an email, automated email with that, you can have the Gen AI combine and say, hey, Mr. Landlord, this document XYZ is missing for this location. Everything could be automated. And that piece, we have not done it at this point, but we've done everything else. But this is the other areas you can add on top of, the basic core infra. Now, just so that is on and this applies to any kind of document, lease and invoice document, and then generating exceptions and automating the communication notification either to the landlord or to the tenant. Okay. Now, as I said, the core of CAM Recon is the data that's in the lease. Everything what you do is matching what is in the lease and what is the actual versus coming in the lease. So the important aspect is that how you abstract those clauses. And who's responsible? If it's a landlord's responsibility on a specific item, if it's a tenant's responsibility on a specific item, whose responsibility and what share? All that data, it needs to be abstracted. So this is really the other area that we have deployed over the AI, ML technology, and some elements of OpenAI, LLM, can helping summarize those key data points into a structured format. Because when you see a clause in an agreement, it tells you, describes it. Yes, the landlord can do it, tenant is responsible for this. At the end, you want to know for XYZ snow plow, am I responsible? Tenant, yes or no, and how much? For each of details, you want to know yes and no's and yes and no's. And depending upon the application that you guys use, we're as a Reba, we're application agnostic. We really don't care if you're using Tango or LooserNext or LeaseCake. We're application agnostic platform or a service provider. But the key is how this data gets stored in your lease admin application. So you want to go back and check that, and maybe you want to add certain fields because that would help you get the data into the platform. So when you're trying to do the recon, CAM recon, so it is easier for you to compare the results. So a lot of times when we get in situations, we end up re-abstracting some of the data in the leases. And that's something that we have also invested from Lease AI tool that allows us to abstract and summarize the data at scale. Now, one of the important elements here is, and that's something I will discuss in some of the concerns, AI, either when you do invoice reading of invoices, documents, lease abstraction, it's not 100% accurate. It is a tool. It is a co-pilot, brings a lot of efficiency. It's not 100% accurate. And that's why On top of this, all the tools and automation that everybody's trying to put in place, you add manual QC layers on top of it to validate the data at scale and make sure the data that has been abstracted or the information that has been read from the invoices, everything is accurate. So multiple levels of QC, but even if you do that, that still brings a lot of efficiency to the whole process. Just to give you an example, where our team will spend hours doing it, now with the tool and the back, and now we're spending 30, 40 minutes. We spend almost hours, now brought it on 30, 40 minutes. But still, you need those resources to help see the discrepancies. Some of the data discrepancies AI can point out, but it still needs some validation and double check along the way. So least abstraction is a key component, and doing that at scale is very important. So now let's look at, from a CamRecon perspective, the invoicing. The invoices, you have a lot of invoices, a lot of data coming in. Now, how do you take that data that's coming in and the invoices? You have thousands of invoices, many locations. And that's where the AI does a wonderful job taking you have the invoice dates, what type of invoice that is. If it's a utility, if it is, XY plumbing, or if it's basically, snow plowing, whatever. You have invoice types, vendor types, cam types, organizing that by different buckets and extracting the data by months. And we have the data that comes from the lease admin tool that tells you this is what should be and what is the actually that is being billed. And you can see comparison of that. And now you can start seeing the differences. Now, if the data matches, you don't need to double check it because it's a double validation already happening. The AI has done it, and then what is in the lease, I said 1800, that's the match. Now, when you see it red, that there is a difference. That's where the QC team double checks it. Indeed, that there is a discrepancy. Quick double check. If it's match, you don't need to double check. Now once you have data in this format, now you can do many things with it. You can see the trends. You can see what has projections. So now you have app, and then also I'll get into some of the future of AI is the fraud detection as well. So, and that's really the important aspect, that how you can do this at scale. Missing invoices, missing dollar amounts, comparison, all of that stuff could be all done. And this work, it's not deep learning that you see in ChatGPT. This can do traditional ML, machine learning, can do the job here. Okay. So I wanted to set the stage. Now what happens is you found the discrepancy. Now you need to communicate with the landlord. If you're a lessee or you're a lessor, you need to communicate with lessee. The important aspect is, what are you going to say? How are you going to say? You're going to compose an email. Now, this is really where the generative AI can come in. And this is where the elements of the deep learning and some of the ChatGPT and OpenAI. So you can have an email composed based on the data or the discrepancies you have found. You can do a tenant communication or a landlord communication email composed on your behalf, and that you get ready to send to your landlord, to a tenant, with all the correct messaging in place. That's the wonder. That's really what saves you time. If you are doing a CamRecon or a communication, one of the important aspects about CamRecon, as you guys know, is communication. A lot of times you got to get on a phone, you got to talk. And sending, compiling all the information that you need to get it from a landlord, you're sending to them, creating a package, communication, organizing and all your thoughts into one email and all the related documents. This could all be facilitated using Gen AI. So now you guys start to see the wonders that how AI can actually literally transform your business. And that's really, as a company, have spent almost so many years, almost 30 plus years, when we saw almost 6-7 years ago that yes, AI can really transform our business. The first thing I told my management team, that we need to use AI, all these technologies, to self-destruct our organization. I know I'm using the word self-destruct in a strong way. What that means is that we need to look at how we do things from top to bottom and look at the technology and change it, fix it. If we don't do it, our competition will destruct us. And that brings a lot of efficiency by doing this. And let's make sure we pass this efficiency and cost savings to our customers. So they should see that. Now, that brings, as a company, obviously now we have time, because we could do things faster and better. Now we should spend our time and energy in developing human touch and relationship with our customers, listening to them, hearing them, how we can help them in other areas. Use the technology to self-destruct, pass the savings to our customers, and use that time to develop human relationship, because that is going to be the currency of the future. That is what is going to build the barrier to entry. I know the technology is the key to help us things make better and faster, but the human touch is the key to make us, to sustain and be in this business forever. And that is really one of the important things that I want to pass it along to the audience today, that we cannot lose sight of that. Okay. Now, so from a technology perspective, there's a lot of things that we can do from a potential, of the technology. So one is the predictive and the trend and analytics. That's something that could be put in place. Predicting. Right now, a lot of times as we do the CAM, it's all about reactive. We're trying to figure out. And then you see the trend and see the pattern. And then you can correlate a lot of times if you have a data from a landlord, a type of, service provider, that you can start seeing that, yes, and typically we see the problem in XYZ invoices, and that is not correct, that we see that is not matching. And you can feed in some industry stats and what the common area charges should be, and you can start doing some elements of fraud detection. And that's really where, because what happens is, with the AI, you can create a beautiful invoice nowadays that pretty much looks the real. It may not be the real invoice. I'm not saying that's prevalent, that people might, but there's as people are involved, there's always an element of having some elements of fraud. Okay, but AI can at scale. If you're managing a bigger portfolio and you can look at your portfolio, look at the discrepancy and start pinpointing that this could be a fraud or something doesn't make sense. So that's really one area that AI is going to get better and contribute in that field. Now, as I mentioned, not everything is perfect. As AI, there's always a chance. You hear word hallucination, inaccuracies. Yes, that is correct. We're just in the first 2 years of Gen AI. It's just, the ride has just begun. This is the journey. We're on the beginning of this journey. So there's an inaccuracy. And inaccuracy is not just due to what's an AI, what the AI is capable of doing. Inaccuracy a lot of times happens because what's in the document. If the documents are not easily legible, in a sense that, there's a OCR problem, how they've been OCR'd, handwritten notes, and all that stuff, that literally contributes to most of the inaccuracies dealing with AI. Based on our experience, if documents are not good, the chances the AI, the OCR, is a ripple effect. It's not going to work properly. That's why you need to have people looking at it, making sure it is correct. Now, the other aspect is data privacy. Now, that's a big concern, and but there are controls in place. It depends on how you architect your application. What we did at Rebo, we said, all right, this is a very core element to our business. We cannot have our customer data go out in the public. So how do you build this architecture, this framework that keeps your data secure? So without getting into technical details, we built this whole RAG model that allows us to basically keep the data. We don't really train any public LLMs like OpenAI. We may use them for bits and pieces, and the way they're being used, that after they're being used, that the data has been discarded. Okay, so putting checks and balances, but within the organization ourselves. We don't let people just go online and start using ChatGPT. We don't. We built this framework within an organization that who has access to some of the AI technology. That could be in marketing, that could be in help, and could be lease abstraction, CAM recon. So who has access to what pieces of technology, how they can use it. And then the other important aspect is the key metrics in place that we're monitoring the activity, what people are asking, what the data is coming back, so we can retrain the system that our internal models, and also what people are trying to use and not trying to use. So that is the key. So having a system in place, but the important aspect is that you have analytics and reporting on top of that allows you to see what is working and what is not working. So we're coming to the tail end here. Please have your questions ready. So now coming to some of the key takeaways from our conversation today. CAM recon is a time-consuming process. It is indeed. And that was one of the key catalysts for us to really think about as an organization to innovate. Because we have people working, and it's hard. We don't want people doing the tedious work. So we wanted to figure out how to make things better for them and for our customer. And the other element is accuracy, on time, and how we can make sure that we can do it as we know that we saw the case study. CAM recon and indeed can bring cost savings to our clients. That is one of many we have done. So that definitely has a serious impact, on your bottom line. So it is definitely beneficial to do that. And now internally, companies don't have enough resources to do the work. That's why companies look at organizations at Rebo-like, who have the resources, but also have the expertise and the technology in place to do it at scale. And as you saw some of the examples, how AI is transforming the CAM recon business. And as you know, in the years to come, it's going to be really, really transformative, going forward. But any user technology has its own risk. As long as you're aware of them, as long as the vendor that you're dealing with understands the risk, and the companies have put processes and checks and balances in place to mitigate that risk. That is the key. So with that, I conclude my session on AI. So thank you very much. We're going to spend 5 minutes on Q&A. Over to you, Rukmani. So if you have
Thank you,
questions
Harvinder.
in the session,
Thank
so
you.
please. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvinder, and thanks everybody for joining us today. Now we'll be taking all the questions here. So just give me a moment. Let me open up the comments that we've got. Let's see. Okay, so the first question we have is, instead of providing all the process documents, can we simply give you access to our ERD environment? Mr. Brendan McCarthy is
The
posting
answer
the
is
question.
yes. We actually, the nice thing is we're a Yardi partner. We're one of the preferred partners. So yes, we can, if we don't get it from API or another way, we can actually, what we do, we will go into Yardi. We will take all the documents out of Yardi, organize them, and then run through the document renaming process. When we upload the documents you want us to upload, we can upload with the properly renamed documents. So we can do that for you. Okay. Um, so, um, so then there's a question I'm going to just read through. I know Brendan has got a couple of questions. Uh, or pulling them out
How
to
do you
be.
get a copy of our
Uh,
invoices out of ERD? API with them is very hard, or are you pulling out via invoice image extract, Cambric one by one?
so Brendan, we do offer a very customized process or solution to our customers, and we will either, typically we have built our own, OCR technology that we have, then we have done a pre-processing of OCR. So what happens is when you OCR sometimes, then you get, for example, I's and L's, okay, and one. They all look the same sometimes when it comes out of the OCRs. Then we have pre-processing that cleans it up. So we have third-party tools like the Yardis, and everybody, they have their own OCR. We typically, what we have done is, even if that happens there, we try to run through our own OCR and run through own pre-processing, so then we know where the gaps are. So and we do everything that we offer, even if we is very customized to your business, in a sense, your CAM template, your requirements, and get to know what type of property types, locations, what is it, office or retail. So looking at everything. So we'll provide customized solution. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions, Brendan, after this.
I think that's it. Those were the only questions that we had today. So that's about it. Thanks a lot, everybody, for being with us today through the webinar. As Megan said, we'll be emailing you the video recording of today's webinar. So, whatever you missed, and then the deck, you'll be able to go through that. And also watch out our social space, especially LinkedIn, where we'll be posting, the webinar recording, the link, and everything, including the transcript. And feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is provided here, or you can just reach out to us on social, or just email us at sales@rebackoffice.com for any more information in general about this webinar, or you need any more information on AI or how AI is transforming CAM and stuff like that.
Scott, I know you have a question. We're going to take your question and want to reply back to you. So thank you for posting. So as we conclude, so thank you, Scott. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.